Do you think the media is getting wrong about the current market?
The media needs to sell the headline. It needs to get clicks. So if you're a journalist, your incentive is to get as many clicks as possible. So a lot of the headlines are just purely clickbait, just to get clicks.
Welcome back to Marketing Made Iconic. Today, I'm joined by a dynamic voice in property investment, Mossy Taheri, founder of Rising Returns. With 11 plus years of industry experience, Mossy helps Australians create financial freedom through data-driven property investing, and now he's taking it up a notch with AI-powered decision-making. He's not just about strategy, he brings a bold optimism to an industry often overshadowed by fear and doom talk. In this episode, Mossy is going to break down the power of smart data, the evolving role of buyer's agents, and why now might be the best time ever to invest. So let's dive in. Mossy, in a world where the media loves a doom and gloom headline, you're bringing a totally different energy, one of optimism, data, and big picture thinking. I'd love to start there. Why do you believe now is one of the best times to be alive and to invest in property?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Now we have access to technology that we never had access to before. Okay. So let's say if someone wanted to make a investment decision in 1970s, that's before the internet, right? So if they had to find a location to invest in, they had to physically go there, right? Or get help from someone who lives somewhere, right? But now we can actually see through data in real time what's happening around the country. It's like a superpower. It's like, if you tell someone who used to live back then what tools we have now, they would have thought would have thought it's impossible, right? We have access to a lot of information and data that people didn't have back then, so we can make a lot better decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think the media is getting wrong about the current market?
So the incentives are not correctly aligned when people consume information through the media, right? The media needs to sell the headline. It needs to get clicks. So if you're a journalist, your incentive is to get as many clicks as possible, right? Now, what humans psychologically, what gets the most clicks is fear, like things that make people scared often will get a lot of clicks. So a lot of the headlines are just purely clickbait, just to get clicks, and even the content inside of it. The issue is a lot of journalists who write about the subject, like for example property investing, they're not actually really qualified, and they don't actually understand it to the depth of someone like me. So yeah, I don't. There's a lot of content out there that's I wouldn't. I would say it's on the line of misinformation, even basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Motivated and driven by the wrong things, basically.
Yeah. The reality is not as it's not as clickable. If it's just you tell the reality of how things are, you're not gonna come up with a title that people are like, wow, I'm gonna see what that's about. So it's a lot of they really amp it up. They really exaggerate, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does your worldview impact how you guide your clients?
So my worldview is shaped by science. It's data science, right? It's the laws of finance and supply and demand. So I don't really have a personal opinion. It's just I just reflect the information that I collect, and we analyze it, and that's how we make decisions. It's no different from a chemist in a laboratory measuring, liquids and making decisions based on that. So it's very similar. Yeah.
Mm. And I guess that's really helpful for people wanting to invest in property, in particular for those investors.
Yeah. It's having an accurate picture of everything that really helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And your business is really built around helping clients make smarter decisions using the data, not about using your gut and guesswork. And I think that's something many everyday investors don't fully understand. So I will unpack that a little bit. What kind of data do you rely on to help clients choose investment properties?
Yeah. So the data is everything that's available to sort of the big players in the market are realestate.com.
Mm.
And basically the data is a bulk of it comes from there, the real estate data. And another sort of element of the data comes from the census. So ABS, which is accessible for free to everyone, right? So let's say as an example, the ABS data, we can actually see the income, the median income of people in various areas of Australia, even by
Yeah.
street. So we can even know how much sort of people are making in a particular street, right? So
Yeah.
that's about the people that live in an area. That's that information. Sort of what sort of jobs they have, all that stuff. And then on the real estate side, which comes from realestate.com, it's about how fast properties are selling, as an example. How much stock is on market? In the last sort of year, how long does it take for the stock to be sold? You name it. There's a lot of things out there. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think a lot of people would be surprised that such a level of detailed data is available. And I guess
It's
it's
yeah.
about knowing, well, I guess knowing where to access it and how to access it and how to use it and how to use those insights to really make smart decisions.
Yeah. I mean, it's like literally it's countless. So we can see how many percent of listings are selling at a discount. You can see how much discount our people are giving. We can see how much people are searching a particular phrase. So let's say you live in Bondi, we can track the search interest for, as an example, apartments in Bondi over time. And we can see is the interest going up or down? What's the trend happening? With time, are more people searching to buy in this area or less? So really, it's the possibilities. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
And when you're dealing with clients, how do you balance the data and bringing the data to life with emotional decision making when perhaps clients are feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, so we have some clear structure that we don't deviate from.
Yeah.
It's like, but if you want to do this, we can't do that. That's not a good decision. But within the sort of a range of possibilities that are, slightly, one option might be slightly more favorable, we actually are quite flexible. So if as long as it's not a hard no for us, we always give our clients a few options, and we do always say to them which one's more favorable for us, but we do leave a few options. So if they have some personal preference, it's okay.
Mm. Okay. Can you share a story where this data-led approach really made a major difference?
There's so many stories. Okay, I'll go with this particular.
Perfect.
There's a lot. There's a particular client
Yeah.
wanted to buy an apartment in one of the look. It's an okay area to live in, and that's the difference when people think about buying property. Like when you go to this area, um, I'll name it just to make it exciting.
Okay.
It's in Sydney. It's an area called Rhodes. Okay,
Yeah.
lots of new high-rise apartments are there, right? And I would say it's a pretty decent area to live in. There's shops, there's public transport, and all that.
Yeah.
So this particular client wanted to buy an apartment, two-bedroom apartment there, for I think their budget was like $900,000, something like that.
Okay.
And from the perspective of the data, I could see there was too much supply and not enough demand, right? I couldn't see a world where um, that property would have gone up in value, right? Now, I convinced them that that's not a smart decision. They should rather use that money to invest in, for them, we did in Brisbane,
Yeah.
a pretty large house, 4 bedrooms, a very good area. So, and this was probably 3 years ago, and now, he's tracks that, he's comparing the two, and that property in Rhodes has not changed in value at all.
Oh,
And the one in Brisbane has had 50-60% growth. So
that's
it's
massive.
yeah,
That's massive, yeah, for like
yeah,
3 years.
yeah, yeah. It's astronomical. It's astronomical. So
Yeah.
he yeah, he's really appreciative and grateful of that. Mm.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I
Yeah.
guess or I might be assuming incorrectly, the rental return is probably bigger being a larger property as well?
So I would say it's comparable,
Okay.
just because generally apartments have good rental return, but not as good capital gains. So I would say in this scenario, the rental return was kind of on the equal side. I'm not sure which one was more, but the capital growth, we're
Yeah.
talking 60% versus zero. So that's the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
massive. They would have been very happy with that.
Yeah.
Let's take a little shift into AI. I understand AI is one of the newest layers to your business model. And you mentioned in our pre-chat that it's helping you get 10 times productivity, which again, that's huge. So can you share with us, how have you integrated AI into your investment strategy process?
Yeah. Okay. So there's so many layers to AI.
Yeah.
In
How
terms
long have
of
we got?
yeah. In terms of the data and helping us make smarter decisions in that layer of it, what basically it's called machine learning, and it's been around for a while, but it's getting better. What it does is you feed the AI with all the data that you have, which is historical data as far back as we can go. We just load it up, right?
Yep.
And we tell the machine that what we want is we want to predict which areas will grow more than others, right? And then it's able to find correlations, and we don't know what it finds, but it's able to find correlations because it has all the historical data. So it has the data points that existed, as an example, in 2010, and then it has the capital growth that happened by 2011. So it can go and find correlations however it wishes to do so. and then it gives us back the results. So this is a work in progress that we're doing. We see, so it gives us what it thinks that the AI thinks is going to be the best performing areas.
Yeah.
But we're still fine tuning that. So, which is incredible because we have our own algorithms, but the AI can sometimes find correlations that we can't. Okay, so that's on that side of things.
Yeah.
And then the AI, really, a lot of the value is actually in automating and simplifying things for us humans. So, in terms of like sourcing properties, right? A big part of our job is to make sure we call and speak to all the agents that we work with, um, and we have certain questions that we always ask, and we make sure we document, right?
Yeah.
But now AI can like voice agents that can call, collect the information, put it all in an Excel sheet. That will make my life a lot easier. And it can compile the data from realestate.com and then make our lives much simpler. Another example is if you're limited to humans, at any given time, this is an interesting one. At any given time on realestate.com, there's about 200,000 to 300,000 listings. So right now on market around Australia, there'll be around, and the exact numbers are published every month by SQM and other companies, so you can see if the total listings is going up or down depending on the season. But in any given time, it's between 200 to 300,000, right? Now we have very smart ways to filter them down, but imagine if AI could actually look into every single one of those deals. A human, how many deals I can look? I can probably do about 10 per hour. And how long would it take me to do all of that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. What impact is this having client results and turnaround times?
It's going to make things faster. It can
Yeah.
make things faster. It can make things automated. That's the power of technology. Every new technology that comes out, it makes life a little bit easier, and this is really what it's about.
Where do you think AI is taking the industry over the next 5 years?
I think there will be in the AI agent space and AI automation. There'll be a lot of new companies that will pop up and provide those services to real estate agents and buyers agents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, for example, in the marketing space, in the generating leads, in the qualification of the leads, there's a lot of different various areas that it can help. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So when it comes to talking about trends and different regions and what you're forecasting for the future, what markets are you watching right now and why?
There's about 3 states that are pretty interesting. Well, Victoria is, I would say, the most interesting. And then Queensland. And then, well, two more, I would say. And then there's Northern Territory and Tasmania. So Victoria is particularly interesting. I think really good things will happen in Victoria. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And I think you say Northern Territory and Darwin.
Yeah.
Why do you think regional areas, specifically like cities like Darwin, are being overlooked?
Yeah, it's it hasn't. It's really affordable to the point where it's half the price of everywhere else.
Wow.
And we can actually find properties for the same price that they were sold 10 years ago. So it's really stuck in in a decade ago. It hasn't done anything. So very affordable, high, extremely high rental yield. And what happens is there's a lot of investors. Generally, building a property portfolio has, there's three phases: the foundation, and then there's the acceleration, and then at the end where it's more about retirement. So there's a lot of people who are towards the end of their portfolio building, and they want to buy high cash flowing assets, right? So when Darwin presents such a strong opportunity in terms of rental return, there's a lot of investors will be going there, and that itself will raise the prices. So that's for that. And Victoria also has been slacking behind other cities in the past few years, and it's playing catch up. It just last month we've been buying for our clients for the last year in Victoria, but just last month it actually turned, and it's now growing at one of the fastest growing areas in Australia.
Yeah, wow. So what do you think investors should be thinking about in 2025 and beyond?
I think get good advice from people who have done it before, not just in property investing, in any endeavor that that you take. You should really leverage the knowledge of the experts, and make great decisions, because it's such a big thing, right? Like some decisions don't have a huge impact. So if you make a mistake, it's okay. Nothing major is going to happen. But if you, for example, the example that I made for you, 900,000, if they bought that apartment in Sydney, they would have now still had 900,000. Whereas their property in Brisbane has grown by 60%. So it's $400,000-$500,000. So that's the difference it can make.
Which actually leads me perfectly into our next section. At the heart of what you do is helping people build wealth and long-term freedom faster and smarter than they could on their own. So leveraging this, your particular expertise to really build their property portfolios or financial freedom, create their financial freedom. What does financial freedom mean to you and your clients?
Yeah, so it's one of the things, freedom in general, not just financial, just freedom, period, is such a strong value of mine in life. And I won't go into the details, but I make a lot of decisions, just most of the weight of the decision is freedom. And so that's me personally. But so financial freedom means just, it's a cliche, but it means living life on your own terms. It means that, and for me, what was big when I had working for a big company and had a boss, financial freedom for me meant that if something happened in my job that I didn't like, which it did happen, I could just say that, okay, I'm going to resign. Having the power to say, I'm going to resign, and not having to put up with, when you see people do something wrong, not having to be forced to put up with it, having the freedom to say, see you later. That's really powerful. Having the freedom to take holidays whenever you want, right? Like when I worked in a big company, I missed so many things because my boss didn't approve my leave. He was like, no, or just, you're limited. So it just means all these things.
Yeah. How long does it take realistically to build a strong portfolio?
10 years. Realistically. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Realistically. So there's a lot of marketing nowadays in the world. There's a lot of so I tell you what's realistic, right? Not the advertisements, right?
Yeah.
Because in the advertising world, maybe there's some people might claim that it's a lot faster than that, but
Yeah.
no, realistically, to have a good portfolio and substantial, basically, you can be financially free within 10 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what mindset shifts do people need to adopt, do you think, if they want to scale with property?
First thing is that anything's possible. This is a very big mindset shift, right? We live in a world where certain people actually have hundreds of billions of dollars, right? There's many of such examples, right? If you look at the richest people in the world. And we have a world where an average income is like in Australia, $90,000 to $100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll make an Australian example. But at the same time, in Australia, we have people who have billions, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't inherit that. They made it, right? So
Yeah.
it is anything's possible, right? Now, in terms of property, we have people in Australia who have over 100 properties. This is real. And they didn't
That's a
inherit
lot.
that. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's self-made. So just your mindset should be that it is possible. And the people who do it are no different than you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. When we spoke initially, you said something so insightful. 10 years ago, people wondered if they needed a buyer's agent. And now the question is, which buyer's agent? So what is it that's driving the rise in buyer's agents in Australia?
I think, so as you know, in America, at least some states in America, um, almost everyone has a buyer's agent, right? And now I don't actually know exactly, but I think some states in America, a buyer's agent is like a solicitor, like it's legally like required, right?
Yeah, right.
So now, so this industry came to us, probably started booming in Australia around 2018, 19, 20. It's just became more prominent. Before that, it was probably more for a bit more high-end type of properties.
Yeah.
But I think what's really driving the industry is the buyer's agents that are, growing, expanding rapidly, and putting the word out, in their marketing and advertising. Yeah.
There's more of an education piece for almost, dare I say, everyday Australians.
Yeah.
Again,
Yes.
to be able to actually leverage particular expertise to achieve their life goals, achieve, professional goals potentially.
Yeah. So it's part of like things are becoming more specialized in the world in general. So even say maybe some people back in the day used to do their tax returns by themselves.
Yeah.
Now they're getting an accountant to do it. It's all these, the world is becoming more specialized, and buyer's agents are no exception from that.
Yeah. How do you differentiate rising returns in this growing field?
Yeah, so it's the data, it's the scientific approach,
Yeah.
it's the use of technology, which is, we've always been a pioneer in using tech, but now that tech is AI.
Yeah.
And yeah, letting the data and the science make decisions for us.
Yeah, that's definitely a strong point that's come through.
Yeah.
And finally, Mossy, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, yeah, it's literally nowadays it's just the business and the clients.
Yeah.
Getting to work with, having an impact on people's lives. Um, and I'm very passionate. Hopefully you can feel it from my language and my tone. But yeah, I'm very passionate about what I do, and
Yeah.
that's what gets me up in the morning. And I love work days more than weekends. I need weekends because I need to recover. We're
Yeah.
not robots. We can't
Yes.
work all the time. But if I could, I would work even on weekends.
Yeah. Mossy, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights from AI to optimism to helping Aussies scale their portfolios with confidence. For those who want to learn more or follow your work and rising returns, where's the best place to find you online?
Yeah, so risingreturns.com.au. And then in every social media platform, it's just Rising Returns. That's our
At Rising Returns.
at Rising Returns. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks again. And for our listeners, if this episode gave you clarity, motivation, or a new way of looking at the market, share it with a fellow investor or business founder, and let's rewrite the narrative on wealth building in Australia. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.